A middle school janitor stood in a cafeteria and sang like nobody was watching. Except somebody was. And that one shaky phone video quietly changed his entire life. Richard Goodall spent 23 years mopping floors and wiping down cafeteria tables before the whole country ever learned his name. Behind the golden buzzer, the confetti, and the $1 million prize was a story soaked in loss, rejection, and a family secret he never expected to uncover. And now, years after that first viral clip, Richard has finally made a decision that closes one chapter of his life for good. But the real story behind that decision is far stranger than anything America saw on stage. Richard Goodall was born in Indianapolis and spent nearly his whole life just down the road in Toyota, Indiana. Nothing about his early years hinted at fame. He built a quiet life around routine, family, and community. For more than 2 decades, he worked as a custodian for the Vigo County School Corporation, most recently at West Vigo Middle School. To the students there, he wasn't just the man who cleaned the hallways. He was the friendly face who greeted them every morning, humming classic rock while wiping down tables. Music had always been part of him. He sang in choirs, did karaoke with friends, spent years in gospel trios around town. Friends always said his voice sounded too big for the small rooms he sang in. But nobody expected what would happen next. In 2022, a student secretly filmed him singing "Don't Stop Believin'" by Journey in the cafeteria. By the next morning, that clip was already spreading online. News outlets picked it up within days. Even Howie Mandel noticed it and said publicly this man belonged on a much bigger stage. And yet Goodall kept showing up to work in the same uniform, doing the same job, completely unaware of how far that one video would carry him. Here's the twist though, this wasn't his first shot at a dream like this. He'd already auditioned for The Voice once before. Nothing came of it. Not even a callback. He just quietly went back to his routine. So when America's Got Talent finally reached out 2 years later, he had every reason to expect the same disappointment. In May 2024, Goodall boarded an airplane for the very first time in his life, flying to Los Angeles to audition. He'd never even traveled west of the Missouri River. His nerves showed the second he stepped on stage. But once the music started, something in him settled. His performance moved the entire room, and Heidi Klum hit the golden buzzer, sending him straight to the live shows. Simon Cowell later called it one of his favorite auditions in the show's history. From there, Goodall treated every performance like a gift, not a competition. He dedicated songs to his partner, brought raw energy to Eye of the Tiger, and closed the finale with Faithfully, leaving barely a dry eye in the building. When the season ended, Richard Goodall was crowned the winner at 55 years old, the oldest champion in the show's history. It looked like a perfect storybook ending. But what viewers didn't see went so much deeper. Long before America heard his voice, Goodall had already lived through years of quiet heartbreak. After the pandemic hit, the gospel band that had given him purpose outside of work simply fell apart. Then, in 2021, he lost his first wife, Patricia Sue, to kidney cancer. She had supported him through years of doubt, and her death left him unmoored in a way grief alone can't fully explain. He kept showing up to work each morning because that discipline was simply who he was. But those closest to him could hear the weight in his voice whenever he sang. That sorrow never fully disappeared. It became part of the emotional depth that later moved millions of viewers, who had no idea what was really behind it. But life had something unexpected waiting for him. In 2022, he met a woman named Angie, long before any cameras entered the picture. She saw him simply as Richard, not a viral clip or future celebrity. She became the steady presence he leaned on through the entire whirlwind of the competition. Just days before the season finale, the two quietly got married on a beach in California, choosing to keep it private rather than turn it into a spectacle. Goodall later credited her directly during his winning moment, saying her support was one of the biggest reasons he found the courage to keep going. But Angie didn't just support him emotionally. She pushed him to do something he'd never dared to do before, search for the identity of his biological father, a mystery he'd carried quietly since childhood after being adopted as an infant. What they found next, nobody saw coming. Using an ancestry service, Goodall and Angie tracked down a retired K-9 police officer and Army veteran named Hubert, living not far away in Indiana. Hubert had no idea Goodall existed. And their reunion revealed something else entirely: 3 siblings Goodall had never met or even known about. As it turned out, Hubert had already seen Goodall's face on television during America's Got Talent and suspected a connection before they ever spoke. When the 2 men finally connected, Hubert reportedly asked if he was really the janitor guy from the singing show, still stunned that the son he never knew he had was the same man he'd already seen on national television. Goodall later said that without Angie's push, he probably never would have gone looking at all. Meeting Hubert became, in his words, one of the most meaningful surprises of his entire life. Once the cameras stopped rolling, most people assumed Goodall would walk away from his janitor job and chase music full-time. That assumption turned out to be wrong. He simply went back to work at West Vigo Middle School, cleaning classrooms and waxing floors like always. When asked why, his answer was simple: he genuinely loved the students, the staff, and the structure that job had given him for over 20 years. His hometown loved him right back. He got a key to the city of Teyote, and the school threw an emotional pep rally in his honor. Long before he ever won anything, that same community had pooled their own money together just to help him afford the trip to Los Angeles. New opportunities kept arriving anyway. He sang the national anthem at an Indiana Pacers game, opened for Howie Mandel, performed at local holiday festivals, all while still clocking in most mornings. He said the fame felt less like a spotlight and more like just another normal part of his life, and honestly, that suited him just fine. Rather than rushing into a record deal, Goodall took his music career slow. On August 29, 2025, he finally released his debut single, Long Time Coming, recorded in Nashville. He called himself the luckiest man alive. He also joined a small local group called Sugar Street, performing smaller shows just to remind himself why he loved singing in the first place, long before any of this attention existed. Then, in August 2025, he returned to the America's Got Talent stage for the show's 20th anniversary special. He performed Long Time Coming alongside Journey guitarist Neil Schon, a full-circle moment tied directly back to the song that started everything. Watching his very first audition clip again backstage that night, he admitted it hit him harder than he expected. By late 2025, Goodall made something clear that fans had quietly hoped for. Music wasn't just a side chapter tied to a reality show. It was the direction he intended to keep walking. In November 2025, he headlined a gala back home in Teyote, performing both his new single and the song that started it all. Around this same time, talk began swirling about a possible album, a book deal, even a movie. When asked jokingly who should play him if a film ever happened, he just laughed it off. But that joke turned out to be more prophetic than he realized. In the summer of 2026, after 25 years of service, Richard Goodall officially retired from his custodial job with the Vigo County School Corporation. He called the decision emotional, not easy. Walking those familiar hallways one last time hit him harder than he expected. He admitted entertainment is far less stable than a steady paycheck, which made stepping away from his old job genuinely scary. And alongside that retirement came an announcement nobody saw coming. Goodall signed a deal with production companies Everard Entertainment and Mad Chance to bring his life story to the big screen, with writer Chris Parizo attached to the script. Producers called it the perfect example of the American dream. A story about never giving up, no matter your age or circumstance. Looking back, from a viral cafeteria video to a wedding on a California beach, from losing a wife to finding a father he never knew existed, Richard Goodall's story reads less like a lucky break and more like years of quiet persistence finally catching up to him all at once. From a humble janitor humming in a school hallway to a headlining artist with a film deal in the works, he proved that ordinary routines can hide extraordinary talent. It was never really just about winning a talent show. It was about family, loss, love, and finally choosing to bet everything on a dream.